Hello, folks. Welcome to another date on This Morning. This morning, the trouble with Nigerian football. You know, in his compact little book, The Trouble with Nigeria, the consummate author and master storyteller Chinua Achebe addresses our many man-made problems and concludes inexorably that the challenge of personal example and a complete failure of leadership are responsible for our arrested development. Our country had never suffered from a lack of talents in virtually every field of human labor or enterprise, if you like. Take soccer or football, for instance. You know, we have raw talents here waiting to be harvested, but for the entrenched in discipline and corruption. Our concern this morning is, if indeed football is a veritable tool for national cohesion and harmony, why do we mess with it to a point of public nuisance? So let's have a debate this morning on This Morning. Quickly, we meet and greet my guest. Dudu Orume is originally a lawyer. He had never dropped the wig, but he talks sports like no man's business. Dudu, I greet you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Jones.
Deji Omotoyinbo lives inside sports, so he can talk sports all year long. No less so is Effiong Young, who dreams sports, speaks, and smokes sports. Effiong Young, welcome.
Thank you. Great pleasure to be here.
So put simply, gentlemen, we are going to have a detached discussion here this morning. The trouble with Nigerian football. Where do we start? Dudu?
Let's just say the trouble with Nigeria's football is the same with Nigeria's sports.
Okay.
And I think the critical point is that successive governments appear to pick the least capable person in their cabinet to run sports. It's always beyond the ken. Global trends, local needs, and all are well above our sports ministers, except one or two. And they come feeling like the Lord of the Banner, whereas they have learner plates in front of them, and they need to understand the mechanics and understand the transition from thoughts, concepts, to programs, to results, and all of that. It's not the same thing as going to mix a cup of coffee. It needs different engagements. It requires specialists in different areas coming together to put their thoughts into a value chain and discovering something. You never compare the capacity of the sports minister to the finance minister or to the minister for power, whereas sports is quite capable of adding so much to our GDP. Government has to understand, and that you just don't bring somebody who is no better than a local government councillor to be minister for sports. It's always going to turn things upside down.
Did you, after listening to him, you think we are living in Orwellian times, if you understand what I mean? You share sentiment?
Well, to a point, yes. Dudu has a very, very valid point. Sports is a specialized field, highly specialized field. And, you know, Nigeria is a country that I believe in any area of human endeavor, we have capable talents in this country. Mention it. We have capable talents, and in fact, all over the world. So, successful governments don't see sports as they just see it as, hey, job for the boys. And
send him there.
Yeah, just, okay, we are looking, okay, send. And funnily, maybe even the states, apart from a few states, it's the same thing at the states level. Commissioners for sports. It's like sports is job for the boys. So we have this situation where people in charge, or the minister in charge of sports, most often does not appreciate the potential and the possibilities of things he can do.
There's a counter logic to that. You don't have to be a sports person to be a sports minister, right or wrong?
I disagree with that a little bit.
Okay.
If you don't have a passion for sports, you can't administer sports properly. Sports is a highly passionate field. You know, so if you appoint somebody who knows next to nothing about sports, first of all, he's going to come there with a lack of ideas. And if he's not humble enough to, and you know the way government positions are in Nigeria, even if he wants to be humble, psychofarms won't allow you to be humble. So he doesn't learn. But if you put somebody who is passionate about sports in there, even in areas where he's lacking, he knows who to call, he knows who to contact, he knows who he can appoint as consultants. He can form a team around himself that will make him appreciate the job and exploit the potential, because sports is almost a limitless field.
Yeah.
And right now we're just scratching the surface.
If you're taking a cue from there, Isaac Akioye, bless his soul, was a consummate sports administrator. But did he succeed?
Yes, I would say Isaac Akioye succeeded largely. And I'll tell you what, before I talk on, dwell on Isaac Akioye, I would rather say the reasons why sports and football has become such the kind of nuisance that it has become is the simple reason for the simple reason that the governments, successive governments at the state and federal level do not have the people in mind. They do not have the children in mind. Because if you have a population of about 70 million young people, and you care for them and you care for their future, you will seek for those things that interest them. You will seek for those things that engage them. You will seek for those things that will make them progress mentally, psychologically, and psychomotorly, the way we would say it in sports, in kinetic sports, in human kinetics, sorry. Now, because we don't care for the people, so we do not plan for them. And it has not always been so. Now, back to Isaac Akioye. Isaac Akioye came from the University of Ife. Isaac Akioye laid out a plan, a developmental plan that spanned over 10 years.
As a sports administrator?
As an administrator and as a specialist.
Okay.
Not just an
He was a goalkeeper too.
A specialist.
For the national team?
Yes.
Now, I remember.
He laid out a plan that was to span 10 years. And all of the successes that we recorded up to the 90s, up to the very early 90s, were products and plan that were laid before 1980, before the Moscow Olympic Games. Because if you recall the successes and the names like Oliver O'Rourke, like Jerry Okorodudu, Charles Nwokolo, in boxing, if you recall Iron Babasi, all of those individuals were part of a plan. If you recall the talents that were picked from schools, what formed what we call the then Junior Eagles, that threw up Henry Nwosu from St. Finbar's to play in the national team in 1980, were part of that plan. I was in St. Patrick's College when Coach Tiko came calling and picked boys from our school in Calabar and around the country. There was a plan, it was deliberate. Now, in the area of even the management of the facility of the stadia at the time, we had Shoyombo, who is still alive, I believe, and so there was a deliberate plan. So
Titus Shoyombo.
H.O. Shoyombo.
Yeah, okay.
Now, all of these men were programmed in different areas, and we got results, excellent results, developmentally.
So what happened?
What happened was, one, the Nigerian thing, a gang up, removed Isaac Akioye in 1980 after the Olympic Games in Moscow.
Let me pause you there. Gentlemen, so a gang up, and that's what we are looking at, gang up against specifically Nigerian football. Dudu, the World Cup ended 11 days ago. Lessons, did we draw any lessons?
Well, the lessons will come. We are still fighting. And there was a forceful takeover, commando-style takeover of the secretariat. I mean, we never heard of it before. It was plain gangsterism in football. And the minister, who has made himself a temporary court bailiff, is, you know...
Your words now.
Yes, my words. He's making himself a temporary court bailiff, executing a court order that exists only in his mind. We have a situation where we've gone to the World Cup. We put out a fairly decent performance, given the fact that this is the first time the Super Eagles is playing the World Cup without a tournament experience. And that's critical. And that goes back to making the wrong decisions. When people shout about having indigenous coaches, they must coach Eagles and the rest of it, I say, hey, hell no. Let's have the best coach who meets our plans. Back to Isaac Akioye. When we were going to host the African Cup of Nations, I'll come back to your web, I just need to illuminate this. He wanted to host and win. What is the formula? We have a bunch of talented players, Christian Chukwu, Segun Odegbami, Emmanuel Okala, Best Ogedegbe, Owolabi, Frank Onwachi. Adokie. Are we going to win? He didn't want to take a chance. He dug into his dossier of information. He had met Professor Otto Gloria at the 1966 World Cup. He went to him, come, I have a job for you. Otto Gloria didn't speak a word of English. They brought Zandai from one of the local clubs. Zandai had gone to train in Portugal, so he understood some Portuguese. He became his translator. And we won the Cup of Nations. Mission accomplished. Now, we make decisions, and you know, before we came on set, Effiong said, you got to look back to be able to move forward. The Super Eagles team that we're all clapping for 1994 as the best team ever. Keshi and Rufai were the oldest members of that team. They played in the World Cup in their 13th year in the national team. These boys who went to the last World Cup, 90% of them haven't played for Nigeria for 2 years.
Name them.
The team was built over time, which means we have to have a plan. We have, I think, the lessons we probably learned is that we have to put this team together, have a plan, adequately funded and directed towards the next Cup of Nations and the World Cup. And the qualifiers for the World Cup of Nations begin in September. So
this year?
This September. And instead of us getting ready for that, some people are holding catapults and cudgels and going to occupy.
Did you, we're in trouble? Or maybe I'm not seeing what you are seeing.
We're in trouble.
Or, as the Indians will say, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think we're in trouble. And the sad thing is that it's mostly self-inflicted. It doesn't have to come to this. I think government officials in Nigeria, and I'm sure this is not restricted to only sports, tend to have the belief that everything must be controlled by them. I must be the one to appoint who is here, who is here. I think it's unnecessary. And there's always this penchant for sports ministers to focus majorly on football. Other sports are suffering. Last year, I think it was last year, early this year, Commonwealth Youth Games, our contingent couldn't go. No logistics, nothing. A couple of weeks ago, they said that some athletes were supposed to go for a junior championship. They said they didn't get a visa. The Finnish embassy came out to say, you guys didn't apply for a visa. So other sports, because you see, I always say...
So in a film or real life?
Real life.
Go on.
I always say this thing. You know, Dudu might have a daughter who is a fantastic tennis player. My brother here might have a son who is a fantastic hockey player. I might have a son who is a good boxer. You've got to create equal enabling environment for each of these children to thrive. We have sports ministers who are only about football. And it's wrong. Other sports are suffering. And even the football, you are meddlesome. You are not handling things right. The gentlemen here are better equipped to trace the history of the decree and how we can get away from it. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of people have talked about this FIFA thing. Why should FIFA say your local statutes? The point of the matter is that FIFA has over 200 affiliate countries. A situation where you allow the local statutes and laws to be binding on FIFA will create chaos. So what does FIFA do? FIFA says, we're not a law unto ourselves. If you have a case against us, there's a constituted case, go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. It is, if you go there, Dudu will tell you, experienced judges. It's a real court of law. And if you get there,
Court of Sports
Court of Arbitration for Sport, CAS. Yeah. And if you get there and you don't get relief, FIFA says you can go to the Swiss Supreme Court. So there is it's not as if you cannot. People have cases turned down. We've had artists who are banned and they go to CAS and the ban is overturned. And the sports respect that. So a situation where, and if we have signed up to FIFA statutes that is happening in football, you've got to respect FIFA statutes.
Yeah, yeah. Effiong, let's now go there. I understand Decree 101 is the basis for running sports here, right? Wrong?
Yes. Yes, it is the decree. And that is why you have the issues you have in football. It's not restricted to football. There is, I like the word that you use, chaos.
Yes.
Yeah, some politicians some years back called it chaos. Yes, you have the same situation in track and field, in athletics. You have the same situation in basketball. So the entire sports largely is in some kind of disarray because we have, apart from the decree, we have very wrong individuals occupying positions that they shouldn't occupy. And the system allows for such anomaly. And as long as you keep, because laws are made for man, not man for laws. Now, when we have a situation where the individuals lack capacity originally, then it becomes a problem. When individuals do not have capacity to deal with issues, then it becomes a problem. Then everybody looks up to the principal in all cases. Sports is one of the, I mean, we will not also exonerate the Nigerian media, for instance, in all of the issues.
We'll go there. We'll go there.
Because when we talk about the administrators, we talk about the selection, we talk about the personnel, you need to look at the media that is supposed to tell the people what is really going on. The situation where...
Sporting press, right?
Oh, the sporting press, that's what I mean. The sporting press, and let me not say just the sporting press, the media as a whole, because the sporting press is part of the media, and it is what latitude the sporting press has within the space of media practicing that it gets to work on. Now, if not telling the people what's really going on, taking sides and wrong reportorial perspectives creates more problems, even for the sport. So we have all of this happening all at the same time, and that's why I use the word SAD, sad.
Okay. Dudu, you are the only legal head here. What little known thing about a well-known Decree 101 can you share?
Well, put it this way. Decree 101, now an act, as amended, is the combination of Decree 10 and 11 of 1990. At the time, I told the Honorable Minister it wasn't going to work. It was going to create more...
Which minister now?
Late Commodore, I think it was Commodore Ikazabo. Tony Ikazabo. That I said, Honorable Minister, with all your good intentions, if you leave, these decrees will put football in the briefcase of the minister. Well, he didn't take kindly to that, but that's another matter altogether. But by the time Akinyele came, both decrees were fused into one, the 101, which became quite menacing, which gave the Secretary General had to be appointed by the ministry. For the board, it was the Chief Accounting Officer. So if the Secretary General was not responsible, couldn't be disciplined by the board, I wonder of what use. And then, of course, there was also this unwritten practice where the government nominee, because the decree provided for as many as 4 or 5 slots for government appointees. And one of them had to be chairman, whether he knew football or not. And that really had this problem. Now, there were different levels of transformation until it became the NFA Act of 2005, which now made the chairman executive, the chairman of the FA, the chief executive. But then it didn't take too long before some people in the government circles, the Ministry of Sports in particular, hijacked it, used government apparatchik to ensure that Ibrahim Galadima was edged out. And they brought in one man called Sani Lulu. From then...
Not one man, Sani Lulu.
Well...
That's his name.
Okay, Sani Lulu.
He's not called, that is his name.
Okay. Iban's name is Sani Lulu as chairman. And before we knew it, a set of rules called statute and rules, good intention, but it was a set of rules or statutes of exclusivity. They ensured that certain people could not get into, the statutes ensured that certain people couldn't get into the
mainstream of sports administration.
Yes, and it became difficult, the executive committee. And from time to time, a friend of mine said, well, once upon a time, that they had a meeting with the then president, Jonathan, and the man called Sani Lulu and said, FA president, can we see in a couple of days or something, let's talk about some of this your problem. Of course, Sani Lulu told him he has a meeting with FIFA president. You have a chance.
And so the problems he should have discussed with our number one would be better discussed with the FIFA.
No, it was all some arrogance that came out of these statutes approved by FIFA, which ideally should be the case. But then again, we still have a situation where the NFA Act of 2005, as amended, subsists. And we're running football with two laws. We use the Sports Commission or the ministry goes to the presidency and the National Assembly with NFA to get money for football and spend it as NFF.
No, break that down. No, 30 seconds. NFA is the original name.
It's still an existing law, it's the extant law.
No, but we hear in 2008 it ceased to be.
No, let them come and show me how it ceased to be. Because even in the budget,
you're going to kickstart a little something that will be very discomforting for DG. NFA is what I grew up to. I grew up with NFA. 2008, NFF.
The legal people will tell you, like Dudu is trying to say, that is still hanging. It's not being modified.
NFF, NFF
don't alienate me here.
NFF will not get money from the national budget.
It is NFA.
Oh, NFA gets.
Yes.
And spends as NFF.
We'll quite a lot to discuss.
Jones, let me come in quickly. See, that is not, I don't think that is a problem. Because the same, I saw a letter written by the then, what's his name now, Director General, Dr. Patrick Kekeji, directing associations. It used to be Nigerian Athletic Association, used to be Nigeria Amateur Boxing Association. All of them are now federations. A letter was written and directed to all federations to adopt the name federation in line with
FIFA statutes?
Not just FIFA, in line with international federations, because all around the world federation is what is used.
Okay.
So I saw that letter, I saw that memo, let me call it a memo. I saw that memo, and that's on one side. So much of these things has to do with people.
Semantics?
People, no, call it semantics. No, what Dudu is trying to point out here is that in the face of the law, those of them that are legal and learned will tell you, NFA, this is what is recognized. Money is disbursed to NFA, but money is spent as NFF.
All right.
Two different things, but the important thing is the human angle to it, the individual. Who are those that populate those places, and how do they use those powers in relation to what they are supposed to do, the objectives and purpose of the different federations, football in this instance.
So, sorry, I hear we have an Emmanuel. Is this? Imori is reaching us from Abraka. I greet you, sir. Welcome.
Hello?
I greet you. How are you?
I'm all right. Good morning.
Let's go.
Yes. Good morning.
We greet you.
I thank you so much. I thank you so much for this gentleman you are featuring this morning. Actually, I think Nigerian corrupt nature is making Dudu men who have been a sponsor and advocate of good sports in Nigeria. I know him from Tulare. And if you all the gentlemen you featured this morning, thank you for featuring them. And part of the corrupt nature of Nigeria, none of them is fit to be a minister. These gentlemen you featured this morning, are they not supposed to be ministers? Because I've known them in from on football administration in Nigeria. And they've been there from ages. Thank you for featuring this gentleman, and I think you always bring them on board to discuss way forward for Nigeria.
Okay, then.
Thank you.
It reminds me of the book. I think Ghanaian. The beautiful ones are
not yet born.
Yeah, DG.
No, you've not seen my daughter.
DG, you know, the world must thank Iron Lady Baroness Thatcher, who brought about the premiership we know today, called discerning gentlemen and women in Britain, look, give us something that will make England the home of football. In England, you don't know so much about the Minister of Sports. I don't even know his name, but the FA is the boss there. But in Nigeria, the minister is the overall champion.
I think when you are at the level in administration, I feel there's something you call devolution of powers. There's something you call you delegate stuff. I feel the sports minister in a country like Nigeria should be an overseer. And somebody who makes sure badminton need funding, they get their funding. These other, they get their funding. We need to have facilities in place. Facilities are in place.
Sorry, there's no doubt you will provoke so many viewers. Yakub is here from Lagos. Yakub, I greet you.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning to three white men in the studio. Citizen, it is unfortunately that we are going to find ourselves in this kind of situation for a long time until we do something drastically to Nigerian football and then sport in general.
Yeah.
Why am I saying that? Until the federal government and golf in a situation whereby they are changing minister, every government comes to play, we bring on minister, if this government change, they will bring another minister. In England, as you said earlier, who knows the minister of sport in England? Who knows the minister of sport in Spain? And then all these countries are doing very well in a global stage. Then in Nigeria, they are always play politics with everything, especially something that concerns the youth of this country. Let me tell you this. The people that are fighting over who become the chairman of NFF or NFA, as case may be, they are not going there because of those youth that are playing this football, those youth that are running for athletics and all that. They are going for their own selfish interest. And then the government are not doing very well in that aspect. If the sense that if you are a minister, does you nominate who become what? You are a minister. What happened to boxing? What happened to athletics? You are not talking about that. And then you are talking that you have interest in only football because of what you are going to get there.
Yeah.
That's why God bless you.
Yakub, I get troubled when people like Yakub speak in a tone of finality.
Yeah, no, it's a tone of anger, really. A lot of people are angry. He's upset, he's angry. And he has every right to be. Because things shouldn't be like that.
Let me tell you something. It's a joke. I don't know how correct it is, but I was told.
Yeah.
In 1994, when there was this noise about June 12, pro-June 12, and people were gathered in Uju-Elegba, they wanted to march. Somebody just came, obviously DSS or one of those people just came and said, hey, what are you fighting over? The match, Nigeria versus Italy, FIFA has overturned it. They gave Nigeria the victory. That's the way. That is the power of...
You know, for me, Jones, sports is such a powerful tool of national unity, and I'm surprised that successive governments don't see it like that.
By the way,
they do not see it.
Feelers we get from Pakistan is that Imran Khan is leading at the polls.
Yes. Liberia, George Weah won. Imran Khan is leading.
See, my dear brothers here, I said in my opener, I did say, because the government and at this federal and state level do not take the young people of this country seriously, that's why they do not provide for them. Sports, when we were growing up, for those of us who went through school, who schooled in Nigeria in those years, we had the privilege of playing sport. And it was a combination of the Ministry of Education and the then state sports councils. And everything, there was a there was a synergy where the school curriculum was matched. It became compulsory for teacher training colleges to be established across the country. Physical and health education was compulsory. Teacher training colleges, advanced teacher training colleges were established. And every school had a department of physical, had a trained person to manage sports in the different schools. That is not happening anymore. If the government and people believe in the young people of this country, then they will make provisions for them. Then they will ensure.
Away from making them prepare themselves for politics, hardcore politics. We must take a breather here. Let's take this break, but please know one thing. What a Nigerian does not understand, he fears. And what he fears, he attempts to destroy. We'll come back. All right, let me make a confession here. The original title for the discourse was The Nuisance with Nigerian Football. I was advised against employing that, which you're seeing on the screen. But throughout our discourse in the first 30 minutes, we dealt more with the nuisance than anything else. I don't know which is which. Is it the trouble or the nuisance? And so on. In 2018, gentlemen,
the trouble has turned into a nuisance, if I can put it like that.
Precisely.
We have a situation where I think it's a situation where somebody just wants to control. That's my view of it.
And be seen to be in control.
Be in control. And this thing happens too often. Successive sports ministers. Somebody mentioned Galadima in 2006. And unfortunately, it's a 4-year cycle that comes with the World Cup. The elections to the NFF board are held just after the World Cup. 2006 was Galadima. I think, if I'm correct,
are you going to have
actually,
another one here?
Yeah, we're supposed to have an election in September.
No,
I don't know what's
supposed
going
to. Are we having DG?
I don't know.
Okay.
The courts are involved, as I know. 2006, I think Galadima actually won an election. And then something happened, and they had to do another election, and then Sani Lulu came in. Sani Lulu, 4 years later, Sani Lulu was out, Maigari was in.
A palace coup.
A palace coup. Then the 2014 election or elections that we're battling with. And that, the problem with that is always that the minister at the time...
Please add that all of these people, including Pinnick that is being haunted now, has also been part of this drama.
What do you mean haunted?
Yes.
Oh, by the group that I would want them.
H-U-N-T or H-A-U-N-T?
H-U-N-T. H-U-N-T.
Okay.
Or both.
Okay.
Or both.
Jones, choose anyone or both.
No.
So, now, have all been part of the same process. At one time, they were on the other side. So every one of, some people will tell you that, oh, let him stew or let them stew
in their own juice.
In their own juice, because they've also been part of this process in the past.
Let's bring on Benga in Abuja. You must let them be part.
Good morning, Mr. President Jones.
I greet you, sir.
Good morning, the girls there.
Good morning.
Morning to
This is
you.
an interesting topic. We have been having youth unrest all over Nigeria. And the mismanagement of sports is one of the contributions, one of the factors that led to the youth unrest in Nigeria. I remember in the up to early 1990 that up from local government level, there are scouts, there are sports and administrators, coaches who went around primary secondary school, hunting for talent, organizing events in hockey, handball. I played handball in secondary school. And many other things. I must tell you that Fanilatu Obukoya was discovered in our school, Methodist Secondary School, and that is in Shagamu. He was discovered, I know her very well, because we were age mates.
He was talking about all these talent, people who offer talent. And now look at what she is today. But because we have neglected other sports, everybody now wants to be a football coach, a football administrator, a football talent. That's why we neglect other sports. And it's telling on it because everybody cannot play football. So what we're saying is that our government, local government, should go back to that era where we organize, sports events in all the areas of sports, both the track and the other sports.
Benga, and harvest all those talents because it's possible.
Harvest those talents, develop them.
Yeah.
It will take many people out of the streets.
Thank you, Benga. Thank you, Benga.
When was the last time we held the National Sports Festival?
I should be asking you.
5 years. 5 years ago. What Benga is asking, what happened to Israel Adebayo Cup?
Principals Cup.
What happened to Horsey Shield? What happened to Lady Manua?
Victor Ludorum Cup.
What happened to
Dudu, you are old school. You are old school. Please, you are old school.
We are all old school,
okay.
Unfortunately.
If now we can go there. We must go there now. Amaju Pinnick on the one hand, Giwa on the other hand.
Yes, like I did say, that it's been a cycle from 2006, and the bottom line is control. Who wants to take charge? Who controls the money? Who calls the shots? Now, but the important thing here, I always will talk about the personnel, those that populate the stage in the drama. They have all been in the same cast. In 2010, Pinnick was signed, was the chairman of the communique drafting committee when Sonny Lulu was on the other side. I was in Richards Bay.
On the other side?
Well, when Sonny Lulu was the chairman of the Football Federation.
Okay, that's what you mean by the other side.
Oh, yes. I was in Richards Bay, where the Super Eagles camped. And the night before, the then Sports Minister, Isabio, came there, addressed the press in company of Patrick Kekeji, and started announcing that they were going to carry out a probe. And that was before our last match in Bloemfontein. And I kept wondering.
South Africa?
South Africa 2010 World Cup. And the question was, why is this minister going in this direction?
At this time?
At this time. We have a match tomorrow.
And you want to probe today?
Yeah, and I was present. And I asked her why. He said, no, there are things that are going wrong and blah, blah, blah. Of course, you know the normal rhetoric. And we went to Bloemfontein. We lost that match. And as they were returning from South Africa, they were arrested. Ogunjobi, Bolaji Ojoba, all of them. They were arrested and to come and answer. They just got freed. Was that about a few months ago from 2010. In 2014, Megari and company were still in Brazil. And they were waiting for them. Oh, this has gone missing. This is that. Things will always go wrong. Somebody must always write a petition. It's a cycle. And the same thing is happening now. I'm saying that I am surprised. For those that I'm so surprised that people are surprised.
Yes, exactly.
That this is happening.
You should be shocked that people are surprised.
Well, I mean, use whatever language you will, because all of this is just there. So, and all of this has to do with individuals not thinking about
vested interests.
Vested interests. Individuals, the different camps, what will interest them. Does it not surprise you? Minister Jos, Chris Giwa, Jos, James Peters, who wrote petition, Jos. And all of the courts that have been passing judgment.
James Peters pretends to be an ethic man who is masquerading.
No, please, don't bring him to an ethic man. I'm a pure ethic man.
No, I think the bottom line. I think the bottom line.
And the courts that are passing all of these judgments are just courts.
Okay.
Why?
We'll take you to Jos again. But after we would have listened to Abraham is here. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
I greet you.
I greet you too. How are you?
I'm fine.
Okay. I like your conversation this morning. Yeah, good morning.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I greet you too. Yes. So my contribution to this is this. I have watched your contribution this morning, but I know all the history that has happened, what Dudu was saying. We know all those histories, but I want to fast forward us to Pinnick and Giwa. Right now, you have seen the kind of work Pinnick is doing. Everybody that loves football in this country has seen that our football has gotten a good sense of direction since Pinnick has come in.
Abraham, you must be a Pinnick man. It is your right.
No, I'm not really. I'm a sportsman.
Go on.
No, I'm a sportsman. If I can give you a little bit, if I tell a little bit of myself, after Pepsi Academy, my academy was the second academy in Nigeria.
Let's talk about Pinnick and Giwa as you know best.
Good. For all I know, Pinnick has been doing a lot of job and a lot of good job. And secondly, Giwa.
Oh.
Sir?
Yeah, good.
Now we wait.
Giwa has done everything wrong to bring Nigeria football down. He has been banned by CAS to say that this man has nothing to do with football. He should please leave football alone.
Let me ask you, Abraham, it's a dialogue now.
Yes.
Has Giwa occupied any position at the FA?
No, he should not.
No. Has he occupied any position at the FA?
Has he ever...
Abraham, the answer is no. So
no, the answer
I had
is no.
drawn your conclusion, say that the man is a minus for football is debatable.
It's a big minus. He's distracting my football.
Okay. Thank you.
I get his point. Here is a man who has tried to be FA chairman.
Okay.
He didn't get it. He went to CAS and lost. And right now he's a pariah in FIFA. He's on a 5-year ban. So what is he doing? He is muddying up the place. And if it's not resolved in good time, FIFA can ban us. We have our under-20 female team out in camp in Triol. We have the boys who just qualified.
Yeah, Dudu, but the same glass house is throwing more stones.
I don't understand that.
Good. The news oozing out of the glass house will not help the glass house.
Yeah, because there's forceful occupation.
Am I coming from somewhere, Deji?
Well, see, my own way of looking at this is that, look, if we don't put certain things in place, this is 2018, 2022, you'll probably call us back. I'll be talking about the same things.
I hope you qualify for the next World Cup.
I think
this is also
the structures, we have to put structures in place that prevent this sort of things.
Who erects them?
Well, we have an NFF Congress, we have statues, we have to create an environment that puts structures in place such that these things do not repeat themselves. Because it will, if we don't nip the thing in the bud, it may be Dudu and myself in 4 years' time.
You know what?
There will always be contending parties.
When you
we have got to arrest this.
When you say who erects the structures?
Sorry.
Okay.
I release pause. Tomiwa is here from Agege. Welcome, sir.
Ife.
Is it Ife or Tomiwa, sir?
Hello?
Welcome, sir.
Yeah, my name is Tomiwa calling from Penn Cinema.
Okay.
Tomiwa.
You are on. Go on.
All right. My contribution is that I want us to look beyond the federal government being or the problem in sport. I want us to look at the schools. Because when I was growing up, I remember that we used to participate in so many sports in school. But look at Lagos, for example. So many schools we have in Lagos don't even have fields.
Is that the school's wahala or government?
Well, I think the government also needs to mandate schools to include sports in their curriculum.
Yes.
You find out that many of the children going to school today, some of them are so big, fat. They don't explore the sport. How would I put the sport ability in these children. When we were growing up, we had opportunities. Yes.
Tomiwa, do you know if sports is still on the curriculum?
Well, I wouldn't know because
you should seek to find out because while we were at school.
I am telling you fact.
Yeah. Okay.
Because in Lagos now, many schools don't have field. They don't have where they take children to train them in sport.
Thank you. Thank you, Tomiwa. Deji, quickly, let me take you to Uyo. Give it to the last but one governor of my state, Senator Godswill Akpabio, built an Olympic-style stadium. I'm not talking size now. But it is merely a stadium, not a sports complex.
And that's the problem, you know, because if you had...
And it sends the wrong message.
I know for a fact that Dudu tried to do something about that. But when people in authority...
By the way, Akpabio was Dudu's classmate.
Yes.
Yeah, at university.
When people in authority do not take the proper advice, proper consultations, they do things and they just do things, and at the end of the day, it's not sustainable. What the last caller just spoke about, it brings me to what I was making before we took a break, structures. If you say, Minister of Education says, if you want to get a license for a school, you must have a playing field, your curriculum must include sports. Exactly. Is that part of our structure when we are giving out licenses for anybody to have a school? When we were in school, everybody, you had to, in government college, you had to have standard points. You must all take part in at least 3 events for inter-house sports and learn 2 other sports outside of football. And that was Western State Government. It was in the statutes. We must have statutes that make sure these things are done.
So just a minute. Okorafor is reaching us from Arochukwu. Mazi, I greet you.
Good morning, Sir Jones. Good morning, our guests in the studio. Good morning, everybody there.
Yes, sir.
Honestly speaking, Sir Jones, the problem in our class has started from the day of election. When the delegates turned everything there upside down, since that day, a theater cannot hold in our sports house. You see, football administrators should stop this issue of man-no-man syndrome and gang-up style. With this confusion and commotion in our NFF, sponsors will have to get, because everybody wants to invest his money where you make profit.
Okorafor, let me provoke the debate, the discussion more. If the FA chairman is Yoruba, the secretary is Yoruba, the coach is Yoruba, would you like it?
And even if all of them are Muslim, there's no problem.
Oh, go on.
He says competence.
Competence. Let us have professionals.
Competence.
Yeah.
Now, you see, a situation in Nigeria where people like Yekini, look at how he's battled, nobody cares. Look at Dusu for Nigeria's issue, but nobody cares. Every day we continue switch off, recycle some, recycle stick and carry. At the end of it, what do we get? We don't get anything. Now, you see, I wanted to find out from those gentlemen in this studio. Now, there was a record that the FIFA will soon take over Nigerian sports or the football association in Nigeria, or that's NFF. Is it true or just message? Because I'm asking this question in this session that in a situation like Nigeria, I was watching CNN some hours ago.
Okay.
They were showing Africans how they contributed for the success of France. Now, in Nigeria, which part of the continent will we say that I work for the success of this country? If it does, it is goes France. But what are they benefiting? That is why when the player comes to Nigeria, they play 6 games and go because nobody cares about them. If they succeed, do they have insurance company? That company must have a blessed day in Lagos.
So, if you quickly we go there, balancing, it's part of the structures, balancing the structure.
Yeah, you see, in balancing the structure, I think firstly, we need to take the school system into consideration. We need to look back. I keep saying that we need to look back and see where did we get it wrong. And when we're putting it right, we need to take into consideration those mistakes. Our problem has been largely, let's move forward, let's go to the drawing board, let's move forward, and you begin to wonder what forward we are moving to. A situation where we keep giving glory to the past is such that it tells you that we are not making any progress at all. In Lagos, where I grew up, LAFA, Lagos Divisional Football Association, had Division 1, 2, 3, 4. Almost every other parastatal, every other organization had a football team, talking football. In this Lagos, we had private sector owned and ran clubs. At the time the Premier League started, or the professional league started in Nigeria, Lagos had 5 club sides in the professional league, and all of them were privately run club sides. So government takeover of sport is a major problem. As long as sports resides in the hand of government in terms of control and all, government should also provide facilities, the space, the environment, and the enabling laws for it to run.
All right, the backroom boys, that's the production crew, would want to share a footage with us. Let's all watch.
happy for you.
Yeah.
The secret recording was captured by undercover reporters in September 2017.
This is $1,000.
The video was handed to BBC Africa Eye by Ghanaian journalist Anas Aremayao Anas and shows the coach of the Super Eagles, who's paid 3 million naira a month, taking the money after a conversation about player selection. Anas's reporters were pretending to be football agents. They wanted 2 Nigerian players who had previously played for their country to be picked for the then upcoming African Nations Championship. After Yusuf had taken money, they alluded to other financial incentives.
So if everything goes through and those players are able to get a contract, you get 50.
Yusuf could face similar consequences from the Nigerian Football Federation, whose code of ethics also plainly states football officials cannot accept cash. The 2 players were eventually selected for CHAN, but no further money was requested or given to Yusuf. There is no suggestion the money the coach took impacted his player selection. He told Anas's reporters team selection was based on performance alone. In a statement issued to the BBC, Mr. Yusuf denied any wrongdoing and said he neither promised nor committed to selecting players for games. He says he never asked the undercover journalists for money. It was offered to him, and that the amount was $750, not the $1,000 Anas claims. He also stated he believes the money falls within the gifts the FIFA code allows for, viewing it as of trivial and symbolic value, and not as an inducement to play the 2 players represented by the 2 agents. He did not consider the rule against cash gifts to apply under these circumstances. He says his influence over player selection was never affected, and he was not in breach of FIFA or NFF ethics codes.
All right, gentlemen, does it tell you a story?
Well, it confirms the story. Okay. Many of us have been saying for years that Nigerian coaches take bribe to put people in the national team. That is why there's no growth. These current Super Eagles, we've played under 20 in the last 10 years. How many of them are there? Onigbinde is probably the only Nigerian coach who doesn't collect bribe. This one is just a lesson. Now we know, the public knows what some of us have been saying.
Your namesake is here. Godwin is reaching us from Lagos.
Hello.
Godwin, I greet you. Welcome.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I want to commend your studio guests, Uncle Effiong, Uncle Deji, and
Uncle Dudu.
Uncle Godwin.
Grandpa Dudu.
Grandpa Dudu, please, all of you take a bow. Take a bow. Yeah, Godwin, let's go.
The issue is we can keep talking and keep talking about sports. All I'm interested is the way forward.
Without going
Laws,
backward.
Decrees, yes. We have private people that are well-to-do financially that can put in money in the sports sector, and the sports will go forward.
Okay.
Earlier, you talked about the English Football League. I don't know the sports minister. I'm not interested in knowing who the sports minister is.
Because it doesn't matter, Godwin, it doesn't matter to them.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
but here it matters. It matters here.
We can do the same thing here in Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you, Godwin. But we are taking everything home.
Yeah.
Godwin, Dudu, Orume, Deji's people, the Yoruba, have one profound saying. They say, if small pikin fall, if they look front. If old man fall, if they look back. In taking it home.
Well, Effiong, espoused the reason why sports must be looked after across board, especially by the private sector. But it is the responsibility of government to create platforms for youth engagement, for sports development. It's in the Constitution. They've just got to go back to it. They've just got to admit that, because sports is a pyramidal thing. We're all talking about the elite class, which is at the end of the day. the base level of competition by everybody, it's important for government to set the structures, get the ministry to give us plans, 4 years and 10 years or thereabout, and fund it so that the elite corps can come out.
Duty, it's very difficult to cover these things in 60 minutes. We must go.
Yeah, well, for me, the government has got to realize the huge potential in sports and put structures in place to exploit it to the fullest. And like Effiong had said repeatedly on this show, and I commend him for that, it is the best way to engage youth. It is the best way. You can do entertainment, you can do all these things, but sports, the discipline, the values it teaches, leadership, team bonding, helping your teammate, the values, the way you have to discipline yourself, the value sports teaches is very important, and the government should make
especially
it a national
from
treasure.
the secondary school level, because all your friends, lifelong friends, are made at secondary school. Effiong.
Yes, I want to, as I close, I want to say that firstly, I've seen the Salisu tape, I've heard about it, and I want to say that yes, like Dudu said, it confirms a number of things. I expect that if Salisu Yusuf is a man of honor, he should either resign or let the football, if he doesn't resign, then the Football Federation should ask him to step down and investigate the matter and not just take it hook, line, and sinker. That is coming from the BBC does not make it true and does not make it correct. So we must avail...
true.
Everything. Let's keep everything open and carry out a proper investigation. On the football matter, quickly, I also think that in dealing with this matter, we look at what are the procedures, what does the statute say, and look at Chris Giwa not completely as a villain, look at Chris Giwa and his contribution.
I'm sorry, I must stop you here.
Oh, thank you.
Effiong Young, many thanks for your time.
Great pleasure.
Deji Omotoyinbo, we'll call you back.
Pleasure.
Dudu Rume, you are waiting to be 60. We wish you well.
Thank you.
Grow from there. All right then. That's it, gentlemen. There's another program tomorrow morning at 10:30. Join us. Bye-bye now.